It's the original 99X. Barnes, Leslie, Fram, I have a question for you. How many times in the history of the Morning X have you had one of your top 5 actually on the show?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Hugh Grant has been on the show, right?
What about Mel Gibson?
Mel Gibson's been on the show. I think Chris Martin was Chris Martin.
Oh, he was on. So there's
Chris
3.
Cornell, maybe not.
4.
But
So the ones you haven't had, you didn't have Brad Pitt.
no Brad, unfortunately. What about you?
Well, my list is pretty predictable. Reese Witherspoon has not been on. Dido, who came on and immediately was added. Jennifer Aniston, I've met but hasn't been on the show. What was the other one? Oh, Heather Graham was on the show. And our next guest, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous. Let me give you a 60-second capsule. Just a small sliver of our next guest's work. Check out Liz Phair. See, now that right there, I'm shaking with nerves right now. Please welcome Liz Phair to the show. Hey, Liz.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
You just heard. I'm a little nervous because when I have a top 5 from the years of doing this show on the show, I get a little whack.
Well, the heady company in which you have just placed me makes me feel like I climbed Mount Olympus to come talk to you guys.
Well, I don't know what you're doing, but you and I are about a month in age apart because I researched, and you look 30. So whatever you're doing...
What you're talking about, but this little mountain goat is thrilled to hear it.
Keep doing it.
I mean, Liz, first and foremost, I don't know if you know, but 99X is back on the air, and you were so part of our DNA, and we've said this, we just talked with Michael Stipe from REM. You are so part of the DNA of 99X. We're thrilled that you're on the show, and we want to talk about everything that you're doing, so welcome back to 99X and the Morning X.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I remember all of those good times. Welcome back yourself.
What would you be doing, Liz, if you weren't doing music? What would be your job?
I thought I was going to be a visual artist. I went to school and was like a painter and a drawer and all that kind of stuff. I just was thinking about the live, the nude live drawing classes that I used to take all the time. Like, what did I do on a weekend? I'd go to Northwestern and do like a live model drawing class. That was the young me.
Well, what's interesting, you saying that is because you're kind of running out of body parts on your album covers. I mean, really. And I'm not, hey, and listen, thank you, first of all. But, why are you laughing so hard? It's the truth.
I mean, I think my ass still has some, I don't think I've done my ass yet.
Yeah.
Have I?
No, I was just,
so.
I can tell you haven't because I have researched it.
In my mind, I'm mentally like lining up the Brazilian butt lift videos and I need to get on just like, hey, Barnes.
But a serious question, though, about that, because it's funny that you brought up nude, painting. You're obviously not afraid to put yourself out there. Did you ever get any flack from either like a boyfriend or whoever, like someone in business to say like, hey, let's not do it that way?
I mean, yes, of course. I mean, I grew up in a kind of a conservative area. So, yes, absolutely. And I think that's part of the point early on. But I was also just a child of the 70s because I can remember being really young and having these white Winnie the Pooh boots. And there were these, like, all the men in the family had watched the sports games, but there are these things called streakers.
Yeah.
In like big football games, big baseball games where like a nude person would just run across the field during the telecast, And I thought that was so funny and everyone was laughing so hard when they did it that I sort of started streaking around the neighborhood in my white Winnie the Pooh boots. So what was I, 3?
It all makes sense now. I get it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story, by the way.
Sure.
Liz, I do have to ask you a question because obviously, you made one of the seminal albums of the 90s, right? And it's on everyone's list as one of the greatest albums of all time. And now you're celebrating the 30th anniversary of Exile in Guyville. At the time, though, when you made this record, obviously you didn't realize this was going to happen, but what did you think would happen when you released this record?
You know, I was honestly just thinking about a music scene in a neighborhood called Wicker Park, which was just west of downtown Chicago. And so I was hanging out with a bunch of musicians and artists in this area at the bar called Rainbow Club. And I just wanted to impress the boys. I wanted to show them that all of their they would just kind of dismiss my musical taste and act like I didn't know anything. So I was kind of trying to prove a point to my local young urban music scene.
Yeah.
I had no idea my mother would ever even know I did it.
And look what happened.
Right?
Who are your biggest musical influences?
Biggest, I was just thinking, I was looking at a picture of Iggy Pop and David Bowie last night, and I was thinking how formative they were to me. Like this kind of, I never got the sense that either of them were bad people. They were just mischievous, like troublemakers. I think I like people that push the boundaries and are very expressive artistically, and maybe, they're kind of all around creative.
Did you ever meet?
No, God, I wish I had. What a loss, right?
Bowie played a show for us at Smith's Old Bar in Atlanta. We had 99 people. And it was it's still one of my top memories today, sitting next to him on a bar stool while he sang these songs. It was just unbelievable.
It was surreal.
And he was so funny.
I can't imagine.
He was the funniest guy.
Oh, my God. I know. He was brilliant, wasn't he? He was just more than, it's kind of like any of those great people, the real icons. You can say what they did that we all know them for, but really they were so much more than that. And that's why they have such influential staying power. They're like a mirror. Artists are like a mirror to the rest of society, I think.
Have you ever met any of your, musical heroes, though, that you were surprised, that your album had such an amazing effect on them?
Well, I have a funny story of meeting Mick Jagger. I was in a recording studio. I call it the Muppet Studio in Hollywood. I can't remember the name, but it's where the Henson Studios were. And they were debuting, the Rolling Stones were debuting their latest album, and they had all of the West Coast journalists fly in or come in, just sit in a big room. I was just in a studio, recording music and creating a song. And I got to meet him at some point, and the truth was, I don't think he'd ever listened to it, but he almost forgave me for sort of cribbing off their fame to gain my own. It was very funny. I feel like he was really nice about it, but he was like, all right, I figured that was pretty cheeky, I was like, yes, sir, thank you, sir. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I got a little bit of a finger wag.
Wow.
I got a little bit of a finger wag. How dare you clasp our name for your publicity?
That's so funny that it's even on his radar, that's impressive enough.
That's how far in the stratosphere they are. It just slipped into their sphere, and they're like, but it was forgiven. All was forgiven. It was just I was a rapscallion to him too.
Liz Phair, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received in your career? And I ask that because people listening who might want to get into the music, especially women, get into the music business, what's the best piece of advice and who did it come from?
Well, I'm going to give you aesthetic advice because it works for life and it works for art. But my father always said moderation in all things, including moderation. So whenever I think about being in the music business, go for it, go 100 million%, but then, take a break, pull it out, do something different, keep your life. But when you come into the music sphere, go hard.
That's good advice.
I feel like you've always done that with your career, and, obviously reading your book, Horror Stories, you've opened the door for other creators, not just artists, but just female creators in general, like Alanis Morissette and so many. So thank you for that. And I truly mean that, being in a male-dominated industry. Tell us about what's happening with this really cool tour you're doing.
Well, this is so exciting because this little record this album that I made when I was 25 years old, can you even imagine? And it has just had such an impact on people. It really struck a chord. And so I've been able to throughout the years grow with it and grow with the fans in an interesting way. And now at the 30th anniversary of the album that basically gave me my career, if you think about it, it was the start of everything. I get to bring it back and stage it a little bit differently so that you can feel like you're back in Wicker Park with me, so you can feel like that young woman in a man's world trying to have a voice. I'm excited. It's going to be in theaters, and we're going to do some stage production, and I just hope it's wonderful.
Yeah, November 28th, Atlanta Symphony Hall. If you could etch out 5 minutes, I just need a little time with you to talk about the past and maybe gaze into your eyes. I don't know, something like that.
No, we need you to come. When you're here,
Yes.
we need to all get together and have you back on.
Can we all wear masks and then sip our beers through our masks, gazing into each other's eyes?
Yes.
Because I got to make all these shows. It's going to be November, and I'm going to make it every single one. That's what we'll do. We'll just be like sipping our
Yes,
cocktails
safety
through
first.
the mask. Has anyone ever tried that?
No, we need to try it.
Sounds like an SNL skit.
Also, you've got the vinyl coming out. When is that?
I don't know the exact final date. I'm so sorry. I'm not a mechanically minded person. I'm the flower, not the gardener.
You're one of our most fun guests, and damn, you're beautiful. So thank you for joining us.
Oh,
And
you're too kind.
thank you for the great album covers.
Yeah, to have me on and to share this fun 30th anniversary.
Thank you for the great music, and we cannot wait for this tour.
Yes, in person next time. Liz Phair, thank you.
The Morning X with Barnes and Leslie. 99.